So in this video, I was challenged by a viewer to build a credit card setup based on a set criteria of requirements. He was mainly interested in keeping annual fees low, specifically under $800 across a maximum of 4 cards with 2 issuers. He also wanted to make sure that he had a top-tier travel card and also reports that he flies United 3 to 4 times per year out of Chicago. And I am super pumped to build this credit card setup with you and see what you think about it. And so with all that being said, let's just jump right in. So the first question is a credit card challenge. And so I had this actually happen by email. So someone emailed me about a video idea, and I think it's interesting. So I wanted to try it out on this live stream. Basically, the premise is this. The premise is I'm given a set criteria of what credit card setup should look like. And then I have to build a credit card setup from these criteria. And then I can either show it and then either compare it to another one that was already built, or we can talk about it. So this is the criteria that was sent to me. So let me know what you think about that. So build a credit card setup with a given set of criteria. And this is what he sent to me. He also sent to me his own credit card setup, which he's very happy with, but I'm going to compare that setup to the one I'm going to build for you in front of your screen right now based on the set criteria. So the first is 4 cards max and 4 issuers max. We also have an $800 annual fee max, including authorized user, top tier travel credit card insurance. Some cards must have no foreign transaction fees, a TSA global entry credit, airport lounge access, user flies United 3 to 4 times a year, and he said he's based out of Chicago, and the user also shops at Costco and Costco gas. All right, so let's take a look at that situation. So I think because there's so many criteria, the best way to break it down is to figure out how can we break this down into little chunks so we can do this in the most efficient way possible. And I know you guys are also thinking in your own minds, what would be the credit card setup I would build in this situation too? And so why don't you go ahead and think about that yourself as we're going through this, and you can also drop down your 4 cards that you decide or whatever setup you decide based off of what I do. We can see, compare and contrast. So methodology is you want to identify a top travel insurance card first. We'll likely cover TSA global entry credit. So if you identify the top travel card first, the TSA global entry credit, the lounge access, and the no FTS will probably be covered already, just baked into that. So that's good. The second question is it United card or no United card? And so that's also another question we have to think about, because if he flies out of United Airlines a lot, does a United card addition make sense for him in the situation? The next thing is going to be to create a core setup to cover the remaining spending categories that aren't covered. And so that's the way we're going to do this. Sosa says that VentureX is in there so fast based on those criteria. I think that'd be an excellent idea because it is a lower annual fee card. But the reason why that I didn't go with that card is because we were looking for the best travel protections. And so when you think about cards with the best travel insurance, the best travel insurances are going to come from 2 cards or types of cards. The first is going to be the Amex Platinum, and the second is going to be the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And you can see that there are certain cards that are listed below those cards too, which are the Amex Bonvoy Brilliant, Hilton Aspire, and Delta Reserve on the Amex side, and the Ritz-Carlton on the Chase side. And the reason why they're listed there is because if you look at travel insurances, they're pretty much identical, if not identical, between those categories of cards. So if you have a Platinum or a Brilliant, you'll get the same travel insurances. Same thing with the Reserve and the Ritz-Carlton, you'd have the same. So both of those are good travel insurances cards too. And Vincent Pascal also wants to add that United Cleveland also has the same travel protections as CSR and Ritz. So thank you for that. We want to add that to the list as well. I appreciate that. So the question now becomes, do we use the Platinum for the best travel insurance or the Chase Sapphire Reserve? And to figure that out, we have to figure out what exactly do they have. So this is a table that I made for one of my credit card consultation clients, but I wanted to share it with you guys because it's a very good table that makes things very easy to see. And so when you look at this table, you can see that both cards have trip cancellation, trip interruption insurance. They have trip delay reimbursement and lost luggage reimbursement as well. I would say that only difference is Amex has $2,000 for check bag in terms of the maximum per person as opposed to $3,000 for everything. When you look at the other categories though, Amex doesn't cover baggage delay, travel accident insurance, as well as emergency medical and dental. But what differentiates the 2 of them is that the Amex card does give you an unlimited emergency evacuation and transport on their protections, whereas the Visa Infinite cards give you only $100K. And so that's just a small thing, but either one of those things could sway you in one direction or the other. I would argue that for most people, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Ritz-Carlton, United Infinite card would be one way to go. And so that would be what I would prefer to choose in that situation. So for that first thing, I would say the card number one would be the annual fee of $550 plus a $75 annual authorized user. So that's already a kind of a high amount. The other reason why I didn't choose a platinum, by the way, is because it's too high of a card in terms of an annual fee. So that's $695 plus $195, that's already over $800. And so we can't even use that card to begin with. But this card gets you everything you want in a lot of the criteria. You have annual fee, airport lounge access, the TSA PreCheck, no federal transaction fees, it unlocks the Chase Transit Partners, and you also get that 50% redemption boost through the Chase Travel Portal, which is pretty good too. We also get the Mix Travel, which is awesome. So that would be good to start as our first card. The second question to answer is, do we want to get actually a United card as well? And so from my perspective, there are two options to consider, the United Explorer card and the United Club card. And so both of them have an annual fee. United Explorer is $95, which is what we'll choose probably in this situation because it is a lower annual fee. As well as, priority boarding, a first check bag that's free, and 2 United Club passes. The club card is a higher annual fee, so we actually can't really use this for this situation, but it has a lot of good benefits. Like Vincent said, it has those travel protections, priority boarding, 2 check bags that are free, and United Club access that's unlimited, which is super nice. Andrew Beach says, what do you have to do to activate the travel protections? That seems to be unclear. Do you have to book the entire trip, just the airfare? What if booked on points? And so the answer to that question is that Chase will allow them for partial common carrier. So just a part of that trip would qualify you for the entire trip is what I understand. But for Amex Platinum and the other cards, you have to do it for you have to do the whole trip on that one card. So the whole like round trip situation. So that's what I would say in terms of getting the protections to activate for either one of those two types of cards. And so in terms of that, the United Explorer, it's like a maybe. If you look at its CSR, you have about $175 left in annual fees. You get one $95 to $99 annual fee card. That's most mid-tier credit cards. You also have a choice of an Amex card that's $150, so the Amex Green, Delta Gold, or Surpass. That's kind of what you're left with for the remaining annual fee cards. And so I think at this point, I wouldn't choose the Explorer only because you don't fly that much. And I think it's better to, instead of choosing a benefits type card, choosing a core credit card for your core credit card setup would be better to cover more categories at a higher level. Just as my perspective, core credit card setup is the number one thing to do first. And so because of that, I did choose cards number 2 and 3. Number 2 being the Venture card for a $95 annual fee, which gets you 5x on select Capital One travel, which would be, I believe, hotels, vacation rentals, and rental cars, and then 2x on everything else. So that's a good catch-all card. And then you can cover other categories with food using the no annual fee Capital One Saver card for the 5x on Capital One travel that's selected that we talked about before. 3x at grocery stores, 3x miles on dining, 3x miles on entertainment, and 3x miles on select streaming, with 1x miles back on all other purchases. And so Sosa says the $800 cutoff is what makes this tricky. And so I agree with that. That's the issue. This is what Kevin Wynn came up with. Chase Sapphire Reserve, Autograph, Explorer, and Chase Freedom Unlimited. I tried to follow the rules. That's a really good setup. I like that. You have a good main card as well as United Explorer for that benefits card cover up. That's really good. And I think the combination of the Sapphire Reserve and Unlimited is actually a great combo as well, because you can use that 50% redemption boost to make those Freedom Unlimited points worth a lot more, which is great. But so this is actually what I came up with, which is the Sapphire Reserve Venture card and Capital One Saver card. Again, it covers all the criteria that is listed out in the challenge from before. It is missing the gas category, so I do want to cover that in a little bit. But this is the 3 that I came up with. And so, like Kevin, if you had an idea of what setup you would create, leave them down in the comments below. We can talk about it. I do want to talk about the gas card, though. The gas card for him, the last criteria he had was he actually goes to Costco and uses Costco gas for his gas purchases. Now, this is a great card to use for that purpose. It is a third issuer at the Citi ecosystem, but maybe it'd be worth it as a no annual fee card with no foreign transaction fees. You could use it for 5% back on Costco gas, as that it was a recently revamped multiplier on this card, as well as a 2% Costco for all purchases. That's not necessarily the best card to use for this. Actually, the PayPal debit card may be another option, and we'll talk about that in a second. but this would be another card that's a simple card to use that can actually be pretty helpful for the situation to cover those Costco purchases and cover the gas category as well. And so when it comes down to it, this is the setup that I made for the 4 cards with the Sapphire Reserve, Venture card, Capital One Saver one, and the Citi Costco card. Now, the person that emailed me said that his setup was the Sapphire Preferred, the Ritz-Carlton card, the Amazon Prime card, and the Citi Double Cash card. And so this is what he said, what he used the card for. He said he used it as 6 extra Marriotts on the Ritz-Carlton card, as well as for the airport lounge access and other Marriott benefits, the 3x on dining and 2x on travel for non-Marriott purchases, the 2% catch-all on the Citi Double Cash, as well as the 5% Amazon purchases and 5% Whole Foods, as well as 2% on Costco gas. So again, I think that gas category can be elevated in some way. Again, there's limits because he only wants 4 cards, not a lot of issuers, but I think adding additional issuer, even if it was to be like a card that was on your mobile wallet that you have to carry around very often, that would be another way to make it simpler for you. But that would be what I'd say for this particular setup. That's the setup itself. I do want to do a poll now to see kind of what you guys think about that particular setup. Now, the 2 setups that I showed before actually are going to be the setups between myself, which is setup 1, and setup 2. And the question is not going to be which one is better, but which one would you use based on the 2 setups we presented. And so we're going to go ahead and go to menti.com. Again, the banner is here to use code down there as well. So we'll go ahead and start the polling here in 3, 2, 1. And here we go. So this is the poll. Which setup would you use, the first one or the second one? Which one would you use here? So let me see. I'm going to say that. Okay. So we have a couple people voting here. It looks like setup 2 is the one that actually is more popular or not. We'll kind of see. So again, it's not the best one. There are more than one types of setups to use, and there may be another setup that's even better than that. That we didn't talk about. We only have Kevin Wins. He said, Jake Boudet has a nice question too. He says, for the short term, you could go in branch to chase for the 5x on gas and groceries in the first year on the Freedom Flex. Long term would need a better card for a consistent gas category. Yeah, I think that's the crux of the situation here, is that the gas category isn't well covered. And so if we can find a way to cover that, that would be the best. Andrew Beach says which one is which. And so if we go back really quickly to the slide, this is what setup 1 looks like. This is what setup 2 looks like. And so that's what you would be voting on for. And so going back to here, take that there as well. So it looks like the first setup is the more popular, but not by much. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you use for that. And so there's that. So thank you so much for the voting. We're going to stop it there. I see that my main man, Luke, Uncle Luke from Luke's Points and Miles is out here. What's up, Stand the Man? Good to see you here, Luke, and thanks for joining the live stream today. And so we're going to go back to our stage here, and I want you guys to give me some feedback. So what did you guys think of this segment? I think it'd be an interesting type of challenge for me to do either on a live stream or in a long form video. If you like that type of creativity that we had to do, I think that would be something to figure out. So let me know if you think that is good or not. I would love the feedback on it. If you like it and you have an idea for a future challenge, you can go ahead and email me at that email address, stan@thecreditfrog.com, or message me on my website /contact, and then I can go ahead and get that, look at that for you. We can kind of figure out what would be a great idea for that. Sosa says, don't love either, and that's totally fine. It's not for everyone for sure. And the criteria was what makes it hard, right? It's not like, what setup can I make that's the best? It's like, what setup can I make that's the best in that certain criteria? And so that's what the challenge is. And I think that's what makes it interesting and fun. Jeff B says, too many variables, not answers. Do you fly coach or business first? How much are you spending on gas, groceries, and food? If you gave that info, would be easier to answer. And I think you have a very good point, Jeff B, and we'll really get to that too, because it's hard to really feature all of that in a live stream format, but those are very important questions to ask. But again, given what the situation that I have to work with what I'm given.